In this video, I'm going to show you the different options you have for exporting model components from your data model into some different files that you might want to use for analysis, audit, or backup purposes. So we're going to start first under the Import-Export menu here. I'm going to go to Export Model Components, and I'm going to pop open this dialog. So this is how it looks by default, and you'll notice that it is offering to export queries from the workbook that we have. So when you open this up, it'll reload the workbook, do an analysis of everything that's in there. The first option it's giving you is to extract your queries to worksheets in a new workbook. Now this is something that was requested by a client, and if I hit export, you'll see it runs pretty quickly. And here you go, we now have a nice little summary sheet that tells us the name of the file, the date and time it was run, how many queries we had, and then every single query has been written to an individual worksheet with the name, description, the load to, how many precedents and dependents there are on them, as well as the M-code formula. Now, I don't know how much use most people will have out of this. The client needed this because they needed a way to be able to actually difference between different versions of the file to see what had changed, and they had software to be able to do that against Excel files. Having said that, I'm going to close this one down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to return to my workbook here. You'll notice we also have the option to move it to a text file if we want to extract our queries into text files as well. So if we go to text file, this will extract just the queries into one text file with this particular name, which of course you can change. You'll also notice on this form though that we have a red bar down here, which is telling me that this web path that we're using, well, unfortunately, Monkey Tools cannot extract to a web-based path. Now, you say, well, that's fine, Ken, but I've noticed also the browse button is disabled, so how do you expect me to change it? When we default to the default exports to the models folder, what the concept here is we're trying to provide you with a folder where the workbook actually lives. If that's coming from your local hard drive, this is all fine. If it's coming from the web, obviously that's not. So we need to uncheck this box. That will enable the browse button so that you can then browse for the appropriate place to export your file. I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to paste in the folder that I want. There we go. So nice and easy there. And I'm not actually interested really just in exporting just the queries. I'd rather do the full model. And what the full model will now give me is it's going to extract all of the power queries that are inside the file. It's going to extract the relationships, and it's also going to extract all the measure signatures as well into a backup text file for me called Export Model Full Backup. And if I hit export, you can see it's all done, nice and easy. We now have a backup of this file. Now, one of the things that's really cool about this feature actually works on all licenses of Monkey Tools. So if you got a free license, this will actually work. And you think, well, okay, well, why do I care? It's really about the import that matters, and that's buried behind a pro license, isn't it? And that's true. However, just yesterday, I was actually working with a friend who had done a lot of work on their Power Pivot model, and then the file corrupted. So they went File, Save, and they got back the dreaded error message that says, document not saved. So how do you save your changes? So you know what we did? We exported the data model using Monkey Tools using this exact setup that I just showed you here. And then we imported it later. So maybe you don't have the pro license to import, but at least that way you've got the time to go and actually figure that out or get a trial license so that you can import it into another workbook and not lose your work. Okay? The important thing to remember is when you run into that dreaded error message is remembering you have this ability if you've got Monkey Tools installed. Now, let's talk about the basics of the import here. How does this work? Well, let's try this. Let's go import export. Now again, remembering this is a pro feature now, if we go into import BI model to Excel, we can now browse for a Monkey Tools backup. I'm going to go and just drop in my path here. There we are. And here it is. I can now say open. This will come back, tell me it is ready for import here. Notice that I get to have the option here if I'd like to repoint this to a source workbook. So all of the queries that read from the tables that were in this original workbook, I can repoint right away. I can now choose import, and this will now go through the process of rebuilding this particular model. So this is one of the cool things that we can do with this. Oh, looks like I have to sign in. There we go. Clear my security credentials and make sure that that's all working in order to get my data. Because of course this is actually now reading from a web-based path. Now the reading from we can do, it's the writing to that's a little bit of a challenge for us. And now you can see it's running through and it's actually importing all of this data from my original Excel file into a new workbook, It's running all the queries. Here come all the relationships. There's all the data model measures. Everything is done now. So we now have this all set up in a brand new workbook, and it's even told me which columns still need to be hidden and which columns here need their sorting hierarchies recreated, because I can't do those things for you with the APIs that Microsoft gives me. So the nice thing about this, as I say, is if the data model actually corrupts on you when you're working with it, you have that ability to extract it to a backup file and then re-import it into either a new workbook, or, as I'll show in another video, you can import and overwrite an existing data model inside the file as well. Thanks for watching this episode of Using Monkey Tools. To get your own monkey, visit our website at monkeytools.ca. Or if you subscribe to Skillwave's Self-Service Business Intelligence Academy, you'll get a free annual pro license included with your subscription. And remember, Monkey Tools was developed to support better Excel and Power BI solutions. If you want to learn how to really master these tools, you should definitely check out our full course catalog at skillwave.training.